them, and we also will maybe do a debate.
Cool.
We'll see. So, you have been running for how long? When did you announce?
I started a little over a year ago.
A little over a year ago.
I was the first person in all of San Francisco to announce for supervisor.
First person
in the city.
For this race, or are you the earliest?
I was the earliest.
Have you set a record? Like, are you the person that has declared their run for supervisor earlier than anyone ever has in San Francisco?
Not in San Francisco. I can't say that, but I can say for this race. Yeah,
okay.
I was the first one.
Why did you do it so early?
Because I have a background in campaign politics, and I think one of my secret weapons is I know what my weaknesses are. And I knew if I was going to get into this, I had a lot of work to do for name recognition. And so I had to get out there, had to knock on thousands of doors, had to start meeting as many people as possible. And you can't do that if I got in right now with 6 months to go. And so, I talked with my husband, and we decided.
Who's in the audience?
Adrian, my husband. Deserves much more applause than I do.
Thank you, husband.
Much more applause than I do. And we went through all the pros and cons, and he gave me one ultimatum. He's like, if we are doing this, you are in it 100%. Not 50, not dipping your toes in. Once you make your decision, you do it. And that's what we did. And so, it's a trade-off because you have to spend money a little earlier, have to make it last a little bit longer, but it's paid off. So I'm happy I did it.
How is it paid off?
It's paid off because I am viewed by most as one of the front-running candidates in this race because I've put in the work for over a year, knocking on well over 5,000 doors. One of the things I did do faster than any candidate in San Francisco history ever is qualify for public financing. We did that in a week, which was unheard of by anyone. And
wow.
So that's something that doesn't just happen. You build up to that point. And so now we have enough donations to max out public financing when it becomes available in a couple of months. So none of that would be possible if I just decided, you know what, this is just a fun thing I want to do. I'm going to hop in with 6 months to go.
So are you tired of the doors?
No, I love it. I will say sometimes.
Are you sure you're not tired of the doors?
I mean, I'm tired in general.
5,000 is a lot of doors.
But I have about 10,000 more to go for my own goals.
And you're not
and that's just me. That's not.
Fuck, I have to knock on more doors today?
Well, no, here's the thing.
I'm just saying, that's a lot of doors.
It's a huge amount of doors. And I won't lie, I kind of sometimes dread going out. It's kind of like going to the gym where I dread working out. I never regret it after I do it. It's the exact same with doors. I'm like, am I going to go out and do doors again? Every time I do it, I come back with a story. I meet someone, and that's why I went and knocked on doors, because I talk to that person sometimes for just 30 seconds. Sometimes I knock on 100 doors in 2 hours, and the numbers look great, but I didn't talk to that many people. The best times I'm knocking on doors is when I only knock on maybe 20 doors in 2 hours, because that means I'm having really long conversations with people, and that's what I take with me. Because I know I got into this race for certain reasons. I know what motivates me, what I want to see happen, and it's easy in the back and forth to kind of get a little cynical or anything like that. But when you hear the actual stories of the people, like, oh no, that person is now voting for me because of the reason I got into this race. That reminds me why I need to do it. So yeah.
If you were an intersection in District 9, which one would you be?
If I were an intersection.
And why?
Ooh, goodness gracious. What if I was an intersection in District 9?
If Trevor was an intersection, what would you be?
I would choose my own intersection.
But it has to be in District 9.
Of course, my intersection is 22nd and Harrison, and I love the neighborhood because one, we're so close to Calle 24, we're so close to Mission, so close to Valencia, we're so close to public transit, and you're in the middle of a big city, but you have the small town feel. That's why my husband and I moved there in the first place, is specifically for that. We wanted to be a part of a community and also have access to the entirety of the city, and I mean, we chose the perfect place.
Do you support the vendor ban?
It is a complicated question.
I'm just going to ask you a
question. Please, I love it. Just shoot it at me. So I think one of my big criticisms of the way City Hall has dealt with a lot of District 9's problems is we see them coming, they're boiling, and then they just become a big issue, and we have to do these drastic solutions. We've seen it at the BART stations. Everyone's known the BART stations have had crises for a long time. We just wait, and then nope, now it's a crisis, we're just gonna put up fences, and then the fences come down a little bit, it boils down a little bit, and then it bubbles back. And that's my criticism of the vendor ban is, anyone listening could have told you this was bubbling up to become a problem, and we wouldn't need such a drastic solution to bring some sanity back to our streets and actually have our permitted vendors who contribute to the vibrancy of the community be here. And so I guess I went.
So what would you have done differently?
So I would have preemptively had these conversations and not wait until it became a crisis where DPW needed to have police escorts for their own safety.
But would you have like made it illegal to vend without a permit?
Made it illegal to vend without a permit? I think that, yes. I mean, if having a permit system that works is something that we need, when we've seen that. What I would do, and what I have on my website, is actually a plan to completely renovate our BART stations, so we can actually have a permanent structures there that's welcoming, where we can have vendors that are able to be permanent there, have a guaranteed basic income, enabled that they can keep on top of whatever they make there, so we can have the mercantilists, we can have the pupusa makers, we can have the artists and the entrepreneurs there at our BART stations and at our BART plazas, so when people get off the plazas and go into the Mission, they're greeted by the vibrancy that is the Mission neighborhood. And so but again, this is something that if City Hall was just listening from the very beginning, we wouldn't have had to take such a drastic measure of saying, everyone's banned. You can go to this place that no one's gonna walk into, and then we'll look at it in another 6 months.
All right, let's talk about small business. Let's start with Mission Street. Mission Street has like a very high vacancy right now. I think it's 36%.
Yeah.
What would you do, or what will you do if you're elected to fix that?
I think basic permitting reforms, like permitting by right, I think if you are willing to take your capital and you are willing to take your passion to start a small business in San Francisco, you shouldn't have to go through a process that makes you rent the storefront for a year without being able to open, just in order to do it. I think it's already a big enough risk to open a small business anywhere, let alone San Francisco. You shouldn't be at the whim of this broken City Hall bureaucracy that maybe you're lucky enough to get through it, maybe you're not, maybe you have enough money to hire a permit expediter, maybe you don't. I think if you're checking the boxes and you're doing everything by the book, by right, you should be able to open a small business. And I think something like that.
How would you attract people to Mission Street?
Mission Street, safe and clean streets are what I hear almost universally from small business owners in the Mission. They say, Trevor, we would love these different tax breaks. We would love these initiatives to like bring people down and create a festive atmosphere. None of it matters if people don't feel safe coming here, or if they don't feel like they can walk down the street without seeing waste and dirty streets. Like the Chronicle had an analysis saying the Mission and Bernal Heights had some of the dirtiest sidewalks in the entire city. So when I say safe and clean streets, it's not some code for just police. It's like we literally need clean streets. We need DPW to do their job for our small businesses. And so that's one of the reasons I'm actually one of the only candidates that supports a fully staffed police department. Not because it solves all the problems, not because it's some panacea, but because it allows for a basic level of services that people are expecting in our city, across the city and in the Mission. And so that's how we get people back. And we've seen it with the vendor ban. Again, I don't agree with the fact that it was a blanket ban. It got so bad, it happened, and we hear small business owners saying foot traffic is skyrocketing because people feel more comfortable without having fully crowded sidewalks where they might have to walk into the street to get around. So we've seen very clearly the evidence in the data that having a safe and clean merchant corridor is what can bring people back. And that goes for public transit as well. We can't expect people to there's always the conversation about parking. I want to, as a supervisor, want to try to make people always, if they have a car, I always want the car to be in their mind the second choice. I want them to say, oh, it's easier, cleaner, and more convenient to take public transit. Because we're one of the only neighborhoods that has the crown jewel of 2 BART stations. I mean, we should be overrun with foot traffic because of the access we have to public transit that no other neighborhood has. Instead, City Hall has allowed them to become actually a lag on our community because people are trying to avoid our BART stations. So if we want to actually get the foot traffic back, it's not only that we make the streets safe and clean, but we make the public transit safe.
Okay, but let me just stop you there.
Please.
Okay, so because you're the supervisor.
Correct.
You have a Mission station here.
Right.
They're telling you they are having trouble recruiting people because
Right.
people don't want to be police officer.
Yep.
You don't run the police department, the mayor does. They say we don't have enough folks to do foot beats,
Mm-hmm.
and which they told me, I'm sure they've told you. We barely have enough people to respond to 911 calls.
Mm-hmm.
You want the streets to be safer and cleaner. What do you then do? Because the supervisor doesn't have a ton of actual hard power, right? They don't work for you. You don't control the budget, and you don't even control a majority of the appointments to the police commission. By the time anyone becomes supervisor, the police commission won't even have that much power anyway. So what do you actually do on day whatever 50, where you're like, okay, I heard you, Thomas. You don't have enough folks. Like, how are you going to fix that problem?
So one thing I want to make clear is my call for a fully staffed police department is not some blank check making excuses for the police not doing their job. Whenever I talk about having a fully staffed police department, I always precede it with 2 words: responsive, accountable, fully staffed. Right? I've heard from way too many small business owners, especially on the Mission and Valencia's merchant corridors, who say, Trevor, I have gone to Mission Station, I have walked in with video, I have showed them the crime that has happened at my store, I show them very clearly who is doing it, and I tell them I know exactly where this person is going to be tomorrow, and that goes into a hole, and I never hear from them again.
So what are you going to do? But so you're a supervisor, someone tells you had that experience. What are you going to like? How do you think you're going to use the levers of power that you have to fix this problem?
Having the bully pulpit, and actually, even though the mayor proposes the budget, the board of supervisors does have to approve the budget. I intend to use that power, and whether or not we have these, you talk about a lot of soft power. I can't tell you the number of times, and I've heard this from multiple people trying to get things done across District 9. You have all of these members of the bureaucracy saying, you know what, that's a great idea and we agree with you. Without support from your supervisor, it's not going to happen. Whether it's getting a community safety person at Presida Park. I was talking with the then interim captain of Ingleside, saying, that makes sense. We would love support. It's not going to happen without your supervisor's support. Because.
But Hillary's been talking about like wanting more police presence and wanting them to be fully staffed and wanting them to be more responsive.
And she's also been talking about defunding them. I mean, it's one thing to say one thing one time and another thing another time. You have to build a mutual basis of respect across all departments. This is not just with the police department. If I'm going to be putting my reputation on the line for DPW, if I say, DPW, I want you to do your job. I'm going to be out there cleaning with you to make sure if anyone gives you hassle, I'm there to help you. That's the type of supervisor I want to be for every department in the city. Being like, listen, I know that you feel maybe you're going to be thrown under the bus if you do your job correctly. I will not allow that to happen. As long as you're doing your job correctly, by the book, and making sure the citizens of D9 are getting the services they pay for, I'm going to be there.
Okay. What do you think about this bike lane?
So here's the thing.
If you could have gone back and not had it put in there, would you have not put this middle bike lane in the road? And if you could change it, how would you change it?
Yeah. So I was there at the hearing when they approved the bike lane, and I supported it because
Interesting. I was there too.
I know. I was there. I testified because we had talked about it for so long and nothing had happened. And basically, I was of the camp that said, it's time to just do something. Too many people are dying. Too many accidents are happening. Let's just do something. And it's become very clear from the data that the center bike lane is not the solution. I'm very encouraged at what is a seeming consensus of the floating parklets idea, where we still can have a fully protected bike lane on the side. It seems like the merchant community is coming out in support of it. Obviously, we have to figure out the traffic in the parklets or traffic in the lanes getting to the parklets. But the most important thing, the thing that I'm most concerned about is saving lives. That's number one. And too many people were getting killed with not having this designated protected bike lane. And I think this was worth a shot. And it's clear the shot didn't work. So now I'm one of those people where I'm more concerned with getting it right than being right. And so if we see something's not working, it's time to change and change quickly. And I'm optimistic that there's some consensus. When it comes to bikes in the city, there's never going to be 100% consensus on anything. But it looks like there's some emerging consensus about the floating parklet side bike lane.
What do you think about the tiny village at 6th and Mission, and how would you address street homelessness and encampments in District 9 if you're elected?
As of right now, I'm very happy and excited. I support tiny homes. I support an all of the above solution to making sure people can live with dignity, and we give people options to stop the cycle of homelessness and poverty on the street. I sympathize and very much understand the community's concerns with it, because they have seen too many promises broken across the city of people saying, oh, yes, this is all going to be fine. We're going to have all these services here. It's going to be great. Don't worry about it. None of them appear. I just had a conversation with folks who live near the Divisadero Navigation Center, who were made all those same promises. They're like, you're going to have someone 24/7 to answer the phone at any time of day if there's a problem. We're going to have a police beat there at least 4 times a day. You can look at the MOU, it says all these things. None of them came to pass. And I think one of the things that I have found in my conversations with voters across the district is there's so much lack of trust that the city can do anything right. Mm-hmm. They're like, listen, I've talked with the neighbors near the tiny homes. They are not NIMBYs. They are people that genuinely want to help, and they genuinely want to support people. They just look at all the broken promises across the city. It's like, oh, we have this elementary school right here, and you're saying this time you're going to follow through on your promises. They wanted to see proof of following through on promises before that. But I'm happy they're there. I support tiny homes. And even with the community members who didn't necessarily agree with the fact that I supported the tiny homes, they respected the fact that I was transparent with them. And so greater homelessness in general. I have a plan on my website that combines a response to both homelessness, addiction, and housing together. I feel confident I'm going to be the most pro-housing person in this race. I believe we need to build 100% affordable, we need to build below market rate, everything to get out of what we have.
How would you be different than Supervisor Ronan?
In what way? I mean, like, are you just in general, or?
A question with a question.
I mean, on particular issues overall.
I think in how you would interface with the bureaucracy of the city to deliver for people.
Okay. So there's a general.
I guess in your style of being an elected official.
I will tell you one of the things that has frustrated me the most about Supervisor Ronan's approach to progressivism versus my approach to progressivism. There was a podcast not long ago, and my husband might be able to tell it because I was like, I just kind of screamed, what the hell? I was just like, really? Where the supervisor basically said, all of San Francisco's problems are caused at the federal level. There's nothing we can actually do at the local level to fix any of these things, basically except put Band-Aids on things. And I was furious at that answer. I was so angry when I heard that. But no, it's the federal tax code. We can't do anything locally until we fix the federal tax code. Here's a book that proves I'm right about poverty, which is a great book, but I don't think excuses local action on issues. I'm a progressive who believes local government is the exact place we solve these problems. I am excited to get to work in solving these really intransigent problems that our city is facing, because I believe we can solve them at the local level and not point to the feds and say, no, it's all their fault. Because if we do that, what's the excuse for all these other cities that are doing better than us that are facing the exact same issues? Everyone at City Hall says, oh, San Francisco's not the only city. Look at all these other cities that have the same issues. It's true. There's a lot of cities that are facing the fentanyl epidemic, a housing crisis, crime issues, all of these things. Saying that it's the Fed's fault is a cop-out that I don't ascribe to. I'm a progressive who believes in the power of local government to actually change things. And so that's how our perspective when it comes to the city bureaucracy that you asked specifically about. I swear, if anyone in city bureaucracy, in my office, anywhere else says we can't do something because that's the way it's always been done, if that's their answer, they're fired. Or I'm gonna try to get them fired. We cannot do things the way they've always been done.
Are you gonna do it like this?
Like, yeah, man, no, God, no. No, it's infuriating. Yeah. No, well, I mean, that's another.
You should, I think that.
Oh no, that's one of my first top priorities on the Democratic County Central Committee is making sure Joe Biden gets reelected and that we don't get anywhere close to another Trump presidency. No.
Okay.
But so that's my approach is I don't believe in saying, oh, this is the way it's always been done. We have to navigate around this. No.
But the problem is like you can't fire these people. Like I've interacted with the bureaucracy and people are like, we can't do that. And I'm like, oh, okay, well. I mean, that's why I'm.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm glad everyone's running. It's amazing that you're running, but it's very frustrating because you can't tell these departments what to do, really? I mean, I guess you could have like a hearing and embarrass them, but...
Yes, absolutely. You know, I am willing, I've worked at all levels of government. I lobbied on behalf of marriage equality. I've lobbied for transparency in police accountability and police communications. I've been on the inside working for elected officials. I've been on the outside pressuring them as an activist. I know the levers, and not every lever is a formal one that says you're fired if you say no. I'm willing to use the bully pulpit. If I'm not seeing the progress that we deserve at our BART stations, any meeting that any of these departments wants to have with me, DPW, BART, they can meet me at a desk at the BART station and we can talk about it as trash floats by. I'm willing to use the bully pulpit in ways that, yes, does embarrass them, but also gets results. I'm not in this for, the fame and glory. I'm interested in actually getting it done. Oh, we got a little background music there.
It's not too cool. Okay, I just have one or two more questions to the audience.
Yep.
If you had to cut out one neighborhood from District 9, which one would you cut?
No! Absolutely not. No.
You wouldn't cut, but you have to cut one neighborhood. You're not gonna cut.
No.
Fine, okay.
Jeez. I mean, it's a good answer to like cut the wheat from the chaff, see who's, We're thinking of a tough one.
It's so hard to talk to you about this because I've spent so much time here, and I have so much that I love about this area and so much that is frustrating. It does feel a bit forgotten.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
Like if you just drive down Mission Street, like that street is like full of potholes, and like the street is falling apart, and there's all this money that's going to other neighborhoods for economic development that I feel like aren't coming here, and it does feel like District 9 is a bit forgotten.
Yep.
And I guess my last question to you is, like, if you're elected, how would you change that?
It's a great question, and you are not the only one that feels that way. I talk to folks in every single neighborhood, Mission, Bernal, Portola, all feel the exact same way. And an example kind of this is when our current supervisor signed on for a $20 million allocation to the Tenderloin to talk about their problems. Didn't ask anything for District 9 when that happened. I am going to be a fierce advocate for the district. As I tell people, some people think of being a supervisor, oh, you're sitting in a comfy chair and you're just taking big votes on things. We have a lot of big votes we need to take, very important votes. But I view that as 50%. The other 50% is constituent services. My political background is in constituent services. It was one of the things when I interned, I focused on for an elected official who was one of the longest serving elected officials there, and he was known as Uncle Ray. And even if you did not live in Uncle Ray's district, everybody knew you called Ray, because Ray was the one that could fix something. And he didn't have that much formal power, but everyone knew Ray knew who to talk to get things done, and he didn't have to bribe anyone to do it, because he knew how to work the system. And it was the same, my first job out of college was working for a Democratic Congressman, Paul Hodes, and again, this was during the foreclosure crisis in 2008, 2009, where I was helping people try to keep their homes using the power of the office of the congressman. I know the impact that constituent services have, and so that's how I view the role, is 50% taking votes at City Hall that are gonna both impact D9 and the city as a whole, but always remembering that I was elected by the people of D9 and being a fierce advocate for every single pothole, every single bus station, every single bike rack, every single small business, every single homeowner and renter. That's how I view this job, because that's how I was raised in politics.
Okay, round of applause for Trevor Chandler.
Woo, woo, woo.
Okay, we have an intimate crowd, we have 30 minutes. I'm sure we can take everyone's question if you have them. So Mo's got a question for the supervisorial candidate. Yes, go ahead, and then we'll go H.
Okay, yeah. So, when did you move to the Mission? How long have you lived here? Why did you move to the Mission?
Yeah.
And why do you think you know the neighborhood?
Yeah, so I've lived, my husband and I have lived in the Mission for a little over 2 years now. And we moved, my husband's lived in San Francisco for about a little over 15 years now. I've lived here a little less than a decade. And so what I have learned living in the Mission, and there's a couple of things, because I get a sense of what the question is, and I want to answer the subtext to it as well, in addition to the question itself, is that I am not running pretending to be anyone that I'm not. I'm not running pretending to represent the voices of anyone that I'm not. Why I'm running is because I believe that City Hall is broken, and the people that are going to bring back San Francisco are not sitting in chairs at City Hall. The people that are going to bring back San Francisco are the small business owners, the community advocates, the lifelong Mission Bernal Portal residents. Those are going to be the people that bring San Francisco back. What they need is a City Hall that works and doesn't get in their way, so they can bring San Francisco back. And so why I'm running is because I have a reputation as a fixer. That's why the governor appointed me to the California State Board of Pharmacy, even though I don't have a background in pharmacy, is because they were looking for someone who could see the big picture and sweat the details at the same time. He was looking for someone who could actually get things passed, because the Board of Pharmacy actually had been trying to get a lot of legislation passed. They passed a lot of resolutions saying, we hope this bill gets passed, we want this to happen. I got on there, and in less than a year, I worked with Assemblymember Haney to get 1286 passed, which was the largest expansion of worker protections for pharmacists in at least a decade, and it made California a leader nationally in medical error reporting. And that's me not having that background, and that's the reputation I have. And so what I want to bring to City Hall, knowing that I haven't lived here my whole life, is saying, listen, I want to take down these structures that are preventing the small business owners, that are preventing the community advocates, because I hear it from everyone. Every single person says, Trevor, it feels like City Hall is fighting us as we try to bring San Francisco back. It feels like City Hall should be the one saying, you're doing amazing work, we're going to make your life 1,000 times easier. And it's the exact opposite. And so that's the mindset I bring to it, even though I haven't lived here the longest. And I'm very aware of that, and I'm very sensitive to that. And it's something that I take with me, both with, if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, the folks I bring in with my office to make sure that everyone's voices are heard, and making sure that I'm listening to every single person. But like I've been doing, and that's why I've knocked on over 5,000 doors, and I'm going to knock on another 10,000. Because it gives me those stories and make sure that I'm hearing the voices I need to hear, even if they're the ones that are not, even if they're really pissed off people who aren't going to vote for me. Those are some of the voices I want to hear the most, because those are the folks that have deserved for a long time to have a much louder voice heard at City Hall.
All right, H.
Trevor, you just became the first person on the San Francisco political scene, it sounds to me like, to advocate for UBI. You said you would give vendors a guaranteed income above what they sell on the street. How does that work?
Yeah, so if you look at my plan on my website, it's I have it specifically, I believe in targeted guaranteed incomes, because I believe we've seen them work very well, especially with pregnant women of color. There have been proven statistics that when pregnant women, especially pregnant women of color, have been provided a guaranteed income.
Let's stick to vendors.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, guaranteed income, I believe in targeted, but with the vendors, my plan that you can see at my website, trevor4sf.com, includes a permanent vending space, where you can have the pupusa makers, the mercantilists, the
indoor or outdoor?
It would be hybrid. You would have covered vendor space, permanent structure, and I would love for it to be beautiful. I don't have any sketches, but they would hypothetically be there. You get a 6-month permit to fill one of these very prime spaces right off the BART station. And as long as you are there from noon to 9, and you promise to be there from noon to 9, and you are there, you get a guaranteed income. So even when in the off days, you know that you're going to make a certain amount of money.
How many people are we talking about here? How many vendors are out there, and
I
how many would
envision at any
qualify
BART
today?
entrance, maybe 5 different vending spots.
Only
Okay.
5 would be guaranteed.
We're dealing with a limited number of
You gotta
spots.
start somewhere.
Love the
Yeah.
idea. Love the idea.
Yeah,
Alright.
exactly.
What else we got over here, folks? Questions for the supervisorial candidate?
And we have a floating disco mic as well.
Yes, Tomer, you
So
shall-
everyone can hear.
Tomer, over here.
Just wanted to add another aspect. I noticed that a lot of conversations in the mission are indeed about cabins, homeless, and we experience that daily. We live 2 blocks away and so on. Just to converse a bit about some hopeful things, there's an AI wave that is actually growing here and affecting things in a very positive and good way. It brings smart young people all over to the mission. The mission is a hub. And there are a few incubators for that over here in Valencia, next to Mission Bowling, and of course, OpenAI and others. So can you talk about it a bit and how it can actually help the rest of the district, this positive dynamic?
Yeah, it's something that I'm very aware of on a couple different levels. Because the mission still has PTSD from the last boom that caused significant gentrification and significant disruption. And so that's why when I'm talking about housing, making sure that the people that were born and raised here can still live here, that's why I'm such a big supporter of housing at all income levels, including neighborhood preference. So if a developer decides to build a market rate housing, I firmly believe that if instead of building the affordable units within the building, they should be required to build it in the neighborhood around the building to make sure that we can fight gentrification. So that's very important to me. But the mission is hugely the central to the AI. I honestly, I didn't know OpenAI was in the mission until I started running. And then I was like, oh, I've walked by that place 50 times to the Starbucks with my dog and never realized it was even there. I just found out Notion is based in the mission. I mean, it's like, it's kind of, it's the opposite of the original tech boom where everyone was throwing their logos on everything. And you had the eBays and everything. It's you have to hunt for these places. But it's incredibly exciting technology. I'm an advocate for technology, and I don't believe it's an either or. I don't think we have to choose between being a city that's friendly to tech and a city that wants to keep the people who have lived here their whole lives here. I think that's one of these fake ideological fights that have kept anything from going from going in the city. And so it's a nuance that I'm very, very sensitive to, because I love technology, and I think I think San Francisco can be an incredible next phase for this whatever this ends up being. Maybe it's a blip, maybe it's not. We never know. But we have to make sure that we're paying attention and not making the mistakes of the past when it comes to just opening the gates and saying, let it all in. We need to be very sensitive to make sure that we're both being innovators and protecting the folks that have lived here their whole lives.
All right, over here in the corner.
Hi there. On that note,
Oh, you got the disco.
I do. Lovely. I can see my reflection here. On that note, I actually work in tech.
Great.
But I'm also quite sensitive to folks who've lived here their entire lives. How would you use your role to keep that tender balance, if you will, in between making sure that we have a burgeoning economy, but also at the same time making sure that folks are able to live the life they deserve to, especially the ones that have been here for so long?
Yeah, I think it's important to have that bridge. Too often we've had folks in City Hall who have kind of amped up the division between the two sides and saying, again, that ideological choice. So again, having a supervisor, especially around housing, that makes clear we want more housing so we can bring in this new economy while protecting the folks that live there, I think that's a voice that needs to be heard. And I think it's important to have someone who can make sure that, whether it's AI or any of these other companies, are actually talking to the neighborhoods that they're in. And that's something that a supervisor is in a unique opportunity to do. So let's say a generic AI company is on Florida and or Bryant and 16th, and they're not doing anything. You don't know they're there. Their people kind of come to the office. I think it's a supervisor's role to actually connect that company to the community to make sure that they're contributing. For an example, OpenAI. I tried to be a generic AI company, but OpenAI. I was talking with a small business owner on Alabama or Florida who runs a bodywork company, physical therapy, all those things. She's like, Trevor, I feel like I'm next to this massive company and I should be getting more business from them just by proximity, but there's nothing there. My budget, my balance is going down, business is going down. So having a supervisor who's able to make those connections, be like, hey, OpenAI, let's have, or any tech company, let's have a fair where we make sure that your workers aren't just going to and from the office. Let's actually talk about the community that you're in and find ways that you can celebrate your community that you're in and contribute to the community that you're in. And that's kind of the soft power that we have to make sure that something like that happens. But in order to have that kind of soft power, you have to have mutual trust on both sides, and that's the type of supervisor I hope to be.
Let's get one or two more. If there are, yes, go ahead, and then we'll go here.
Hi there. I feel like there's going to be a big housing fight in San Francisco with Peskin and other supervisors preventing housing.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm from New York, and it really shocks me that people are apoplectic about 6-story houses. So how is that shaping up, and how can you influence that? Because I've talked to people like in North Beach,
Mhm.
that are very, very anti-housing. And another thing that's happening is often it's kind of a class issue. As progressive, we're a very progressive city, but it seems like all the low income, all the homeless housing, all the affordable housing is going into certain sections, and all the market rate is going to another section. And I feel that's too stratified. I'd like to see more of, class mixing. It makes it more interesting that you don't, for instance, you have more diversity, more innovation. I think all these being so segregated in different classes in different neighborhoods really creates, a very boring environment.
Yeah. No, and it's kind of the irony of the space that we're in is the folks that have really worked to prevent housing for so long have now put us in a situation where we've lost control of building housing. So it's the kind of the sad irony is we've gotten to this crisis point where folks have said no, 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 and now the state has come and said, well, now you get very little say in anything. And so whenever the housing market ticks back up, it's going to happen. And that's why I am such a big proponent of neighborhood preference for exactly what you're saying. Because when we have the next, when interest rates come down, whenever costs come down and the market is right and we see the cranes start going up again, not just through government initiative, but through market forces, I want to make sure that when that boom happens, that we are not just building condo, skyrise, and say, like you were saying, just saying, oh, and here's the 3 neighborhoods we're going to contribute all the affordable housing to. I want to make sure that we have a vibrant, diverse city where the CEO goes to work alongside the janitor in the same building, in the same neighborhood, because that's how interesting places are. That's how fun places live. That's how so many of these metropolitan cities attract people. You never know who you're going to meet on BART, or you never know who you're going to meet on Muni, and you can have all these interesting conversations. So I agree, and it's we got to make sure that with all of the housing conversations we have, that we're looking at it in a lens of making sure that we are doing it in a way that makes sure that we have class diversity, racial diversity, all of these things, and we're not, again, through our lens of progressiveness, actually creating a more segregated society than actually exists. So yeah.
All right, final question. I think you had it.
It was more just an elbow.
It was more an elbow.
It was an accidental bit.
Adrian, do you want to ask the final question?
Ooh. Okay.
It's all you now.
All right.
Scandalo.
No, it's a good question. And so, I know that you share a passion for San Francisco and have heard so much of what's being said about the city in other places, from Fox News, from other people in the Doom Loop. And you have a different point of view versus the other candidates in the race. What would it signify? What message does it send if you win this election in November?
Oh, that's a big one. What would it signify? I think what I call my campaign lately is Team Reasonable. And I say that after having a lot of conversations with some of the most progressive voters in the city, who say, Trevor, I haven't gotten any less progressive, but my city is failing me. And I need someone who I know is a strong Democrat, but is solely focused on just getting the basics done right and having City Hall do its job. And as you said, because of my work across the country on marriage equality, I've worked on 7 marriage campaigns. I worked on a ton of non-discrimination campaign, pro-trans non-discrimination campaigns. I have a very vast network across the country of people that I talk to. And we all have the question about, you live in San Francisco, are you safe? But the conversations, like I have friends that are running for different offices from the highest to the lowest, and they say, these are Democrats, and they say, Trevor, I'm not running on my platform, I'm not running on the Republican platform, I'm running against San Francisco. They're saying, if you elect this Democrat here, you're gonna get the dysfunction of San Francisco. And so that's why I also decided to run for the Democratic County Central Committee, because I believe I got into this race for supervisor first because I knew San Francisco's City Hall was broken. But when I started running, I realized how broken San Francisco's politics were and how they mixed. And I want to be a part of the change to get back to the basics in the city, not just so we can have services that we pay for here locally and have a government that just works locally, but so that we can be an example and a beacon to the rest of the country. So Democrats can actually run on San Francisco and they can say, you should elect Democrats because look what they did to San Francisco. They brought it back. They found out how to balance both tech and housing. They found out that you could be a good progressive and have safe and clean streets at the same time. That's the message I want to bring if I win. I want to say Democrats are back, progressives are back, and we're coming with an agenda to actually make progressive change, not just say progressive platitudes. And we're going to show the rest of the country and the rest of the Democrats around the country how to do it. And so that's what I hope the message is.
A round of applause for Trevor Chandler. I was just looking to see what our upcoming events are. We have a lot of interesting events next week. I do want to take a second and remind folks that we have the weekly disco trash pickup here every Sunday morning at 10.
I love trash
Still going
pickup.
strong, and you get free buffet brunch if you come. We also have Kara Swisher here in 2 weeks. She's going to be doing a conversation. She's going to be here in conversation with Casey Newton on her new book, The Burn Book. If you're not a sponsor, please become one. It's $36 a month. It allows us to keep having conversations like this with folks running for office, elected officials, on a variety of topics that affect everything about our lives. I apologize for being barefoot again. And we'll see you all soon. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. I should have taken off my shoes in solidarity.
I know. I had a wet sock, everyone. That's why.
Why was your sock wet?
I was at the beach. And I walked into the
This is a
water.
beach day.
Yeah.
It was a beach day. I walked into the water and...
The question is, why are you all not at the beach?
Because you care about politics.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Dog out.
Yeah.